AOMPT Facebook page, and also the YouTube channel, the Instagram, the Twitter handle, all 4 social media platforms. Exclusively they are hosting the free webinars. It's not just 1 or 2 free webinars, it is 100 free webinars as a Century Webinarathon launched by AOMPT from 1st December 2020 to 31st March 2021. So it's always a great moment to meet all of you as it is permitted by the internet. Of course, the webinar number 15 is the differential diagnosis of shoulder pain, for which this session is going to mainly emphasize on. As always, remember that the 4 social media platforms, all 4 platforms you need to have registered accounts. Everything is free, of course. And the next step is you should like and follow all the AOMPT's social media platforms so that you get notifications whenever I am live or it is new posted there. The webinar, if it is live on one platform, the videos will be put on YouTube and the links will be shared in the other platforms. You are supposed to comment on all the platforms, 4 platforms, and you are supposed to submit the screenshot to me. So every webinar has 4 screenshots which you submit to me for the e-certificate. Okay, e-certificate is provided only for people who are registered with me by submitting their identity proofs. Okay, AOMPT members, they need not submit identity proofs. They just have to tell that they wish to register. Okay, registration is only once, and 100 webinars, any of the webinar you can complete. You can complete at your own convenience. Okay, but don't be in a hurry that you complete it 1 week later and then you ask for certificate within 1 minute. Okay, so always be aware that you should be well within your professional limits. Okay, you will get your e-certificates the moment you have submitted the 4 screenshots. E-certificates will be issued in terms of 4 or 5 webinars together. Okay, so for example 9, 10, 11, 12, they'll be issued together, all 4. So people who have attended all the 4 will get the first. So remember that certificates will be issued first for people who have attended all the 5 together. Okay, if people have attended only one webinar, they'll be issued after the 5, 4, 3, 2 and then 1. Okay, so you should have the patience to wait for it, and it might take maximum 2-3 days, that's all. Okay, so but remember that all the 4 screenshots per webinar is mandatory. So we are having interruptions here again. So what we anticipate is the next interruption. After that I will start the webinar on Instagram. Okay, so just stay tuned. So remember the procedures which I described for the e-certificate and follow them. Don't miss the 100 e-certificates, which is totally free. Okay, so coming to shoulder pain, welcome back. Pleasure to keep seeing you and pleasure to keep sharing whatever I could do my best during this post-COVID era as we enter into 2021. As part of the Century Webinarathon launched by the Academy of Orthopedic Manual Physical Therapists, this is webinar number 16, differential diagnosis of elbow pain. Elbow, okay, the very small region, some disorders, somewhat pathomechanically related, medial or lateral or posterior. Okay, most common. The uniqueness of elbow, it's a modified hinge joint. It's actually having only 1 degree of freedom, that is flexion extension, the sagittal plane movements. Does not have much abduction adduction, but still you can do that. Okay, when you do an abduction, it is called as the valgus force, whereas when you do an adduction of the forearm, it is the varus force. When you are seeing for elbow symptoms, trauma in the elbow, if you have a fracture after a road traffic accident, fall on outstretched hand in adolescence can create supracondylar fracture. Okay, just above the condyles. That's a very, very important fracture of the humerus. And in the children, the other type of a trivial trauma can cause is the pulled elbow. okay, where the mother is holding the forearm of the child, and then the traction force in pronation, so the radial head comes out of the annular ligament. Okay, so these two are the most common trauma situation there. Very rare one is the window. Okay, you're sitting in a bus or a car, you have kept your elbow outside the window, and the opposite vehicle hit yourself on the elbow, and it causes fracture of radius ulna and fracture of distal end of the humerus. The situation which is called as the floating elbow. Okay, floating elbow. Okay. So posterior dislocation of elbow is another condition which can happen, but it's very rare. It happens with fracture or dysplasia of the coronoid process of the ulna. Okay, anteriorly it's less developed, then it goes posterior dislocation. So these two, all four are the trauma situations. When you see atraumatic, remember shoulder referring pain to elbow is very rare as a musculoskeletal perspective, but it is neurological. If it is entrapment neuropathies, definitely symptom can come to the elbow. Elbow medial symptoms, if you are seeing for differential diagnosis, definitely you have to think first and foremost about the medial collateral ligament and the medial capsule. You differentiate them by doing a valgus test. In the full extension, if you do a valgus test, it's for the capsule. You do a 20-degree elbow flexion and then you do the valgus test is for the medial collateral ligament. Okay, simple. And lateral collateral ligament, very rarely it's getting, because it's attached to the annular ligament. Okay. And if you are seeing for the tendons, medially common flexor tendons, and the laterally is the common extensor tendons. So medially it is called as the golfer's elbow, and laterally is called as the tennis elbow or the lateral epicondylalgia. Okay. Typical mechanism of injury for a medial epicondylalgia is a supinated position of the forearm, and then you are having a wrist flexion. Okay, which is like a forehand technique, which you are doing it predominantly from the wrist and the elbow. Okay, ideally the technique has to be transferred from the trunk, and then it should be executed in a flow by the upper limb. Okay. The same corollary of that is pronation and internal rotation, and you are doing an extension of the wrist that causes the lateral epicondylalgia. Remember that among the medial epicondylalgia, lateral epicondylalgia also, individual muscles differentiation is important. So you need to know the muscle different, flexor pollicis longus, or if it is flexor carpi ulnaris, okay, flexion ulnar deviation, or you are checking for flexor digitorum superficialis, which is proximal interphalangeal joint flexion, or the profundus for the distal interphalangeal joint flexion. Okay, so you should not miss palmaris longus for cupping action of the palm, and it's producing medial epicondyal symptoms. Okay, laterally again you will differentiate the commonest, which is the extensor carpi radialis brevis, which is again extension radial deviation. Okay, and you get a resistance and you get a symptom. Middle finger extension test is actually for the extensor digitorum. Index is extensor indicis, and little finger is extensor digiti minimi. So various muscles could be differentiated in which are the ones which have the tendon, or you have a trigger point in the muscles during palpation or taut bands, you can find that. So there comes the differential diagnosis there again. Okay. When you see the alignment, if you see the cubital valgus, okay, then after that you see for cubitus varus, where you have a neutral inline deformity. Gunstock deformity is the reversal of the cubitus valgus, okay, which occurs as a complication to the supracondylar fracture. Okay, Gunstock deformities. So try to see these deformities, and you can differentiate them from posterior dislocation by the relationship between medial epicondyle, lateral epicondyle, and the olecranon process. Okay, if these three, the relationship is intact, definitely supracondylar fracture compared to opposite side. Okay, if the interrelationship is disturbed, that means it is the posterior dislocation where the olecranon has gone out of place. Okay, sometimes supracondylar can have intercondylar extensions. It can be intra-articular fractures which have the tendency for post-traumatic arthritis. Okay, and although it's very rare. Okay. In elbow, bursitis, very few. Okay, you don't have that much bursa except the posterior olecranon bursa, which is for the triceps. So which happens in students because they rest the elbow on the desk. Okay, so it's called as a student's elbow. Okay, so tricipital tendinitis or olecranon bursitis is synonymously called as the student's elbow. So we have the golfer's elbow, we have the tennis elbow, and then we have the student's elbow. Okay. In neural, you have the three nerves, the major nerves of the upper limb, the median, ulnar and radial. All three could be involved in the elbow. Medial epicondyle, behind that is the ulnar nerve, which is usually involved together with the flexor carpi ulnaris as cubital tunnel syndrome. Okay. Lateral epicondyle anteriorly and then through the supinator piercing is the radial nerve. So that is anyway very simple, supinator syndrome. And of course anteriorly it's the pronator teres, the two heads are there, okay, superficial and the deep heads of pronator teres, median nerve, pronator teres syndrome. Okay. So remember that median nerve symptoms will be reproduced with the supination, radial nerve symptoms will be reproduced with the pronation, and then you do the differentiations. Ulnar nerve, elbow flexion, and then do the differentiation. So you know that characteristic movements in the elbow which will be reproducing the mechanosensitivity of the three peripheral nerves. Okay. In elbow, of course, other disorders which we discussed for shoulder will definitely be applicable, and you have to check the wrist because the common flexor tendon or the common extensor tendon, both, okay, they travel all the way to the elbow. So if you have to diagnose the elbow, you have to utilize the wrist. Differentiation in manual therapy, we have a separate approach where we took 10 days webinars. You should purchase the videos and see how you can test different structures in a single movement. There we have concentrated on differentiating between humero-ulnar, humero-radial and superior radio-ulnar joints. Okay. So if there is a stiffness, we need to find out which joint is stiff so that you mobilize that joint so that the other joints becomes automatically getting the best direction to recover. Okay. When you are talking about elbow flexors, gross, it's the brachialis, biceps and the brachioradialis. Brachialis, elbow flexion in the pronated position. Biceps is the elbow flexion in the supinated position of forearm. And brachioradialis is the elbow flexion in the mid-prone position of forearm. So this is muscle action. So you can differentiate very easily. So remember that there is another small muscle posteriorly there that is called as the anconeus. It's also an extensor of the elbow. It's a single joint muscle. If you are differentiating triceps and anconeus, it's very easy because triceps large muscle you can palpate. Posteriorly there is no other muscle in the arm except the triceps. Okay, especially the lower arm. Okay, so you are going to elongate biceps by shoulder extension and elbow extension and supinations. Whereas in triceps, if you want to elongate, means elevation, elbow flexion and hyperflexion. Okay, so you are going to go there so that you can elongate the triceps. Okay, so you need to know this because tightness of triceps is common in chronic tendinitis. Okay, an acute tendinitis might present with a spasm. A subacute stage, it could present with a trigger point. Okay, and a chronic one can come with a tightness or adhesions or contractures. Okay, so you should not miss that basic tissue level differentiation of dysfunctions. So there we are through here. Joint play testing, ulnar will detect humero-ulnar, and radius mainly detects the superior radio-ulnar because radius is the one which moves in radio-ulnar joints. Humero-radial, sometimes if you rule out these two, then humero-radial comes in the picture. Otherwise, radius do not form a major contribution to the elbow. Radius actually contributes to the wrist joint. Okay. Treatments to elbow, predominantly remember, do not forget the closed kinematic chain. So unless you do that, you are not going to get the neuromuscular stability and training. Okay, that approach. Of course, the elbow is normally it's a stable joint. So you can use a rigid taping as an adjunct, okay, and also go for eccentric training the moment you find a lateral epicondylalgia or the medial epicondylalgia, because evidence proves that eccentric training is definitely important. Simplest way to provide an eccentric training is TheraBand. Okay, so there we are. We have seen the content for the differential diagnosis for the elbow pain. I'm really glad that we could cover this topic now, and I'm opening the session for questions. So please put your questions in the comments, and I will read them and I can answer for all of you. Okay, related to the elbow. Okay, differential diagnosis. Yes, I'll wait for 30 seconds, and then if there are any no queries, then I would wish to thank the participants and also invite the non-members of AOMPT to please join AOMPT. And if you really feel the information that is provided is worth it, that you have learned it, okay, you attended for 15-20 minutes and you found that it has definitely made your knowledge to be better, trust the AOMPT and join it as a member. You will know that your whole life will change. Okay. So that's the magic that it could do during the lockdown. Okay, it has expanded to so many countries, but Indian physios are yet to join. Okay, so many are still hesitant. Okay, so please join and do not miss this wonderful opportunity of the lifetime membership, which is given at a very, very nominal fee. Okay, because of the lockdown. Of course, the 100 webinars and webinarathon and 100 e-certificates, it's a must that no one should miss. Okay, as a physical therapist. So good luck to you all. So do we have any queries from our viewers and participants who are watching and trying to get their knowledge brushed up, polished? Almost late in the night. Okay, it's not 10 to 10:30 timing. It is. Okay. So in another 10 minutes, I'm going to come back live for the webinar number 17. That is the differential diagnosis of wrist and hand. Okay. Irrelevant questions, please don't ask. I said differential diagnosis. Okay. So don't ask about treatments. Okay. And which I don't tell that it is, that means it is, not effective. So remember that. Always make sure that, and always try to see that you did not differentiate between lateral side and medial side. You try to diagnose so that functional limitation of the patient, because you're treating the patient, you are not treating the medial side or lateral side. Okay, so don't be like a particular diagnosis. I always tell, even if you find tennis elbow, it does not mean that lateral tennis medial side golfer's elbow not there. Okay, so you have to check. Muscle imbalances are present, you should treat. Okay, if the ligament instability is present, medial or lateral, then you have to treat. Both the sides is there, both the sides you have to treat, because we treat the patient. That is where we are clinician. Okay, so no need to dissect. Okay, that differential diagnosis is only for interdisciplinary communication. Okay, so I have already mentioned that. If you have not watched my previous webinars, you will get this kind of questions. Okay, the free webinars itself, differential diagnosis itself, the previous webinars. Okay, in all the platforms of AOMPT. So good luck to you all. See you. Bye bye.